Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Enterprise webinar. Today we're going to be looking at how to connect your customers to the Enterprise platform. My name is Ian Bates. I work in the marketing team here at Enterprise. Alongside me today is your host, James Keappock, who is the head of Partner Enablement. What we're going to be doing today is just to look really and just to show you kind of how fast and easy it is to connect your database, be it an SQL or a HANA option, into Enterprise, and to connect all your information in SAP Business One directly into Enterprise and to get running in a matter of minutes. James will also be showing you some very interesting tips and tricks to make the connection process as seamless as possible. As always with our webinars, we will keep everyone on mute, so if there are any questions, obviously please leave those to the end of the presentation. We have reserved some time. Alternatively, if you do have any questions, you can also send us across an email, and obviously we can reply with that offline. We are recording today's presentation, so we will send everyone out a copy, and also there are some links in these slides as well, so we will also send those out. Okay, I'll pass you over to James now, and then we will catch up at the end of the presentation. Okay, James?
Okay, thank you very much, Ian. And hello and welcome, everybody. You're very welcome today to our Connecting Your Customers Enterprise webinar. So today I'll be running through briefly a demonstration of how you can connect your customer's SAP database with the Enterprise platform. So the Enterprise platform supports connections to both HANA and SQL SAP databases. There are some prerequisites which we'll look at. It's quite a simple process which is done and configured from within the Enterprise web application itself. So it's a matter of registering your organization and connecting via the integration information you have for your SAP database. So just a brief overview of some of the resources we have actually on our website. So please do visit our website, www.enterprise.com. There's a support section there with a how to connection video, and that's under the support tab. Also, we have other collateral in the solution section. So I would encourage you to look at our website for that collateral. Okay, I'll go straight into the demonstration. Looking at, there are some prerequisites in order to connect the SAP database to the Enterprise platform. If you visit our website, they are covered in the support area of the website. You can see the prerequisites section open here. One of the main points, one of the main jobs that needs to be done before you do connect a SAP database with the platform is a little firewall configuration. So what we're going to do as part of the connection process, we're going to install the Enterprise data service onto the SAP server of your customer, where the SAP database resides. So that's what the Enterprise data service is it's merely a simple Windows service file, and that's what facilitates the communication between the Enterprise platform and the SAP database. So that Enterprise data service is installed on a specified port, on the SAP server of your customer. So you can see here one of our prerequisites is that there's a firewall configuration on the port that you choose to install the Enterprise data service, okay, so that it's configured to be open for incoming and outgoing communication with the Enterprise cloud IPs. And those IPs are listed here, there are 3 of them, and they're listed here on the website. So if you're not familiar with configuring firewalls or configuring a port on the firewall for this type of rule, there is a how-to section under solutions in our website which actually gives you a brief run-through of a video of how to configure a firewall for Enterprise. Now if as one of our partners, you may want to engage your network administrator specialists within the organization at the customer site to fulfill that job that needs to be done. So we'll go straight into it. So what we would do on the website, so in order to register a new organization, that's what we'll register a new organization which we're going to connect to the Enterprise platform. So we merely click register button here. Okay, so we're brought to a registration form. So I enter my email credentials. I define a password for myself. So this is registering an organization placeholder effectively for the first time, and this is what we're going to connect with the SAP database of your customer. So you can see here the enterprise domain is populating there. So what we'd recommend is that we give the name of the SAP database which we are going to connect with, but still retaining that uniqueness of the domain of your email address. So with that will register a new placeholder organization. And when you register for the first time, you will register as the administrator user of this organization. So in future, you will be able to add new administrator users to this new organization. We'll just wait for that email to come in now. Okay, so I have my activation email coming in. So what this essentially is doing is we're going to activate that organization I've just created. Okay, so our register organization is now active. Now I would go to my customer's SAP server now, and this is where we're going to log in now with the admin credential we've just created. I'm going to log into Enterprise. Okay, and we'll see here the organization I've just created. Okay, now in the settings area, now where we actually complete the connection between the SAP database and the Enterprise platform is in the settings area here. And we go to the integration tab. So this is where the 3 steps are defined for you. They're all explained here as well to make life a lot easier in the connection process. So step 1 is we download and install the Enterprise Data Service. Okay, so depending on the SAP version number of your customer and the patch level, you would download the appropriate one. To assist you with this is an Enterprise Kickoff app, which downloads the Enterprise Kickoff file to the local server. You can run it from the local server, and it's merely a little diagnostic tool to identify the correct EDS version for you to install. So this is recommending me to install the 9.2 patch level 6 or higher EDS. So I download the 9.2 patch level 6 or higher Enterprise Data Service, right-click it, and I run it as administrator. Now I know that for this site I've pre-configured my port to 8097. Okay, this is the port that I have done the firewall configuration for already. So what I'm going to do is I define the port number in the wizard here for the installation of the Enterprise Data Service. Run through the steps, install the file. In this part, I define the admin user accounts. You can be one or more, but they're the accounts, these are the only enterprise accounts which will be able to actually amend this Enterprise Data Service in future. So I save and close. That's just going to run through the installation process. And finished. So we move on to step 2. We can see set up your network. So as I said, we've pre-configured our firewall. We've done that step for port 8097. What we need now to do is we need to define the public IP of the SAP server for your customer here. So this is the server I'm on. So we need the public IP, and then we're going to append it with the port number where I have just installed the Enterprise Data Service. So essentially what this is doing is defining the public address for the data service I've just installed. Okay, so that's my public IP for my server, and that's my port at the end there. So I'm going to save that. And now the next step is to check the network. So essentially what this button is doing is checking that the data service I've just installed on the SAP server can communicate outside with the Enterprise platform according to the rule we've configured. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Check the network, and we verify that it does. So there is network access to this Enterprise data service. Okay, so final step is step 3, and that's just to connect the specific SAP database with the Enterprise platform. So for this, you'll need some of the information relevant to that particular SAP database. So we're going to choose the database server type. We're going to define the database server name. Okay, and this is a HANA installation. So I'll show you now where we would retrieve this information. You'd often retrieve it from SAP Business One itself, or you could retrieve it from the HANA Studio. If it was SQL, you could retrieve it from the SQL Management Studio area as well. Okay, so logging into SAP Business One. Just wait for that to load. So often, as I mentioned, for HANA databases, the database server name would actually be a number, so it would be an IP address for the HANA instance. So we have SAP Business One open now, so I will show you. We can go to Modules. Okay, let's wait for that to load. So it's loaded up. So Modules, Administration, choose Company. And you'll see here, this is the server. So this is my server name that I need, which is actually an IP in the case of HANA. So that's the server name I'm interested in there. I'm going to use my HANA database server name, okay? And I will know my database password. So the name of the SAP database is going to be demo1. My SAP license server, again, you can double check this from SAP Business One itself. In administration, license administration, you'll be able to see that the license server IP is this, and it's on port 40,000. That's a common port number for HANA installations as well. Okay, so my username, so this is the bit, this SAP username and SAP password, this needs to be a professional license user. So you need one professional license user in order to connect a SAP database with the Enterprise platform. So I've got my manager credential on me. And once I think all that information is correct, I save the configuration. Okay, and the next step would be to check the data access. So usually you would query a table in SAP Business One. The OCRD table is a common table, so that's essentially checking the business partner data table. And you check that data access, which will give you a positive message there. The next step after establishing that connection would be to go to the data import tab. Okay. I'm just looking looking at that locally. So the data import tab is where you will, just after connecting with the SAP database, you will download your objects. So all the main objects in SAP as one in the background, and you can then download and import your transactional data. So that's kind of like a first-time import. Thereafter, synchronization is automatic and seamless, and you don't have to manually do it. But it's a first-time data import. And then final step to connect your customer and to set them up for the first time is setting up their users. So we have an user invitation panel here where we can invite new users via email. They'll get an email to accept the invitation, and you'll be able to set their permissions from here as well. So that essentially is the demonstration just of how to connect your customer. It's very simple. It's via, first of all, creating your organization, having your firewall configured, downloading that enterprise data service, and working with the integration tab there where we have the 3 steps outlined for you and explained on how to complete that connection. So that wraps up the demonstration, Ian. So thank you very much for attending.
Excellent. Thank you, James. We have had a couple of questions come in, so I'll just run through those quickly. Okay, when you register for the first time, do you register on the behalf of the customer or using your enterprise login details as a partner?
So as a partner, I would, I'd leave that up to your decision, but, you would, if you're working with your customer, I mean, I'd be advisable to maybe register as the customer's admin user who they've nominated. Of course, you can do it for your customer, and you can register with an existing enterprise username of your own. So it's entirely up to yourselves how you would like to manage that process.
Okay, another question here. Are the setup stages exactly the same for SQL and HANA databases?
Yes, absolutely. The setup is exactly the same through the same steps. All that would change is some of the credentials there in the registration, the connect screen. So for SQL, you would commonly, instead of an IP that I mentioned, you would have maybe a server name. So it could be something like SAP B1 as the database server name. But again, you could check up in the SAP Business One client, or you can check up in SQL Server Management Studio just to verify that detail.
Okay, hope that clears things up. We have got James's time just for a couple of more moments, so if there are any more questions, please send those through and we can hopefully answer those while we're on this morning. Another question here, James, is quite an interesting one. Would you recommend, how would you recommend the best way to set up customers is? Would you use a screen share option or for customers to send over all the relevant details beforehand? Hi, did you hear that, James?
Ian, I've just lost your audio there for a second.
Yeah, my apologies. How would you recommend the best way to set up customers is? To use a screen share option or to customers send over all the relevant details beforehand?
I would encourage a screen share session. I think it's a good opportunity to guide your own customer, and they have transparency and visibility of how the connection is done. So ideally, you conduct that screen share session with the nominated admin user on your customer side.
Okay, and just to clarify, you only have to kind of go through this process once, don't you, James? So once the connection or the database is set up, then you invite users individually, don't you, via email, and then all they have to do is just accept that invitation.
Absolutely, and yeah, this connection process is just for the first time, and it's just to establish that connection in the first instance. Setting up users then is done, via this user panel. You have full control over user permissions and the data access for that user's user list from that panel thereafter. So I'd run through that with your customer, with the admin user on your customer side, just to show them how to do that. for that setting up, again, I would recommend looking at the Enterprise YouTube channel. We have various videos that can help you understand how to work with the user panel, how to set up permissions and that kind of thing.
Excellent. Okay, just one more final question here. How long does it typically take to import data from SAP in the first instance? I suppose that would kind of depend on the size of the database, wouldn't it, James?
Yeah, Ian. It would depend on the size of the database, but I would typically say, you know, the data import piece, depending on the volumes of data, it's anything from 5 minutes to 10 minutes, really. I would say tops.
Excellent. Okay. Well, that looks like we've gone through all of the questions today, so we'll wrap things up now. As I mentioned at the start of the call, we have recorded today's presentation, so we'll send everyone a copy of that, and we'll also send through the slide deck where you can get links to the solutions page where James mentioned and all the other collateral, etc., on our website. Okay, thank you very much for joining us this morning, and we'll hopefully see you soon on another one of our Enterprise webinars. Have a good day. Goodbye.